ask everyone to take a seat, please. We will start the event in a few minutes. Can't hear? Can you hear me now? May I ask everyone to take a seat, please? We will start in a momentarily, but please take a seat. Good evening, everyone. As always, it's great to see all of you here with this cold weather. Thank you for taking time to be here today. This is our first meeting after Jay Kumar was elected as president, and the first meeting in the year. Happy New Year to all of you on behalf of the Board of Directors. At this point, I would like to invite our president of the organization, Mr. Sinatra Jay Kumar, to deliver his address. Jay Kumar. Please welcome.
Thank you, Rango. Friends, thank you all for coming in today. Our members enjoy community and social connections through various networking opportunities that we provide. I'm humbled to see you today here, even though the weather is very bad. I know, it's Canada. Before I move on, I would like to welcome Mr. CVK Sivanyanam, is the chairman of Northern Province Council, JEFNA, and he will discuss the economic development of Northern Province, Sri Lanka, and trade opportunities between Canada and Northern Province. In addition, we also have Ms. Shalini Satya, who will discuss income tax matters with us for the business. If you run a business, you've got to be very careful with the income tax. So you all know how they come after you nowadays. Very bad.
Good evening, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to be at this event today. It's so nice to see so many business owners, Tamil business owners. It shows how much our community has progressed, how far we've come, and how much we've developed in the last, at least for the chamber, for the last 23 years. So it's great to be here. I'm going to take the tone to a bit serious note. I know it's income tax, and not everybody's happy to hear that word. Just income tax, and I hear silence in the room. I'm sorry. I'll make this quick, and hopefully we can move on to dinner and fun stuff. Now, as business owners, I see most of you here are business owners, and I think it's fair to say that they're all successful businesses. You guys are really busy running around, meeting clients, talking to suppliers, talking to banks. You're busy running the show. But what really goes on behind your business? Are you really aware of what's happening day to day with your business? The reason why this is important is because of the Income Tax Act. It's really hard on business owners. It comes down really heavy on business owners. Now, I think it's fair to say that most private businesses are registered as corporations. Most of our regular people that we know, most of our successful businesses are private corporations. But I think under the Canadian law, everybody knows that a corporation is a separate entity. It's a separate individual. It has its own rights. It has its own obligations. But this is it. The Income Tax Act treats it a little differently. As far as CRA is concerned, they don't care that the corporation is a separate individual. Where there is a bill to pay, if there are taxes owing, if there is HST owing, if there's payroll deductions that need to be done, and there's not enough money in the corporation, they go after the directors personally. They don't care that the corporation is a separate entity. They go and find directors. And that's a very easy way to find directors because I'm sure most of you, when you've registered businesses, you give your name and address. That name and address is held in the Ministry of Government Services. It's a public record. Anybody can access it. So most of your details are available there on the public domain. So if CRA needs to find you, they will find you. Now, we've had cases where usually, it's really sad to say, but it usually they come and find the one owner who might be there. We had a situation where we had 4 investors working together. One investor was a silent investor. He wasn't really involved in the business. He had the cash, so people wanted him on board. So they got him in. 3, in fact, they were all friends. There were 4 friends who were at university together. They studied together. They knew each other for a long time. They got into business together. This guy, the 4th individual, he was never in the business. He was never involved with the running of the business. He had a daytime job. He had a regular job. He was employed. He didn't know what went on with the business. His 3 friends ran the business to the ground. From the first day onwards, it was making losses. Every single day was a loss. Now, when there is losses, the last thing on the priority is paying your taxes. You don't have money to pay taxes. So, as you can understand, no taxes were remitted, no returns were filed, no payments were made to the Canada Revenue Agency. And guess what happened? The 3 friends disappeared. They were nowhere to be found. CRA came after the one individual they knew they could find. He had property on his name. He jointly owned property with his wife. So they knew he had assets. They knew where they could find him because he was not a person to run away from his responsibilities. He had a home, he had a life, he had children here. They came after him and they said, you pay us now. We don't care that you weren't involved with the business. We don't care you didn't know what went on with the business. Your name appeared as director, so you are responsible. Today, he faces a lien on his property. They're about to register a lien on the property because this rule is quite harsh. The government needs money. We all know that. We've been through some tough economic times. The government is desperate to go after collections, and collections is their #1 priority right now. So they're coming down heavy on directors. And I just wanted to highlight that to you as fellow business owners. If you're out there, you're not really involved with these things. You've got accountants, you might have financial advisors, you have people running the show, but you're busy running the business, and that's understandable. But it's important to be aware of what goes on with your business. Who are the people involved? What are they doing with your money? Are they doing their duty? Are they complying with the law? Because this rule is out there. CRA doesn't really enforce it. There's minimal enforcement. They usually use it as the last option. If they can't get money from a corporation, they come after the people behind the corporation. There are some defenses to it. If you can defend this in court, but it's a really long process, and most of it you have to go through a severe burden of proof where you have to show that you did your best, you were involved, you knew what happened, you did your best, but there was something out of the ordinary that happened in the business that was really out of your control. So there is some defense to it, but unfortunately, on the face of it, it's a really hard burden because one thing that they do is they go after your personal assets. So it's not business anymore, it's your personal, it's cash in the bank, it's property that you might own, it's your wages, they can garnish wages. So those are some of the consequences of this rule. So there are a lot more issues that from the Income Tax Act that does impact us as business owners, but I know it's a short event and I know you've all had long days. So I just wanted to share that little piece of information just to create some awareness, because I know that's something, income tax, when it comes to taxes in general, people don't really want to get involved in it, but I think we do have a duty to know what immediately affects us, what affects our businesses, because at the end of the day, it affects our profits. So it's important to be aware of that one rule. So when you go back, when you go back to your offices tomorrow, give help to your accountants, give help to your professional advisors, ask questions, be aware of what's going on in your business. You cannot say you didn't know. You cannot say you had an accountant. No, it's personal responsibility. And they're very serious about that right now because the government does not have money. So enjoy the rest of the night. I'm sure there's other presenters who are going to give you more positive news. Yes? Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah. Of course. Ajit is referring to an incident. I'm not sure if we have auditors in the room, CRA auditors. Anyway, they all know this. We have had instances where auditors come into people's homes. Really, if you are a business, the legal duty is to go to the business's registered address. But sometimes, some very successful businesses, I think certainly for construction companies, building contractors, they often don't have an office. A lot of my clients don't have offices. They are the office. They operate through a phone. They don't have a registered, well, they have a registered address, but they're never to be found. So in this one incident, the auditor said that he wanted to come home because he was trying to get in touch with my client and he couldn't. So he said, I'm coming home. He came in. This guy owns a nice house, Mercedes, 100K car on the driveway, nice house. And he came in and he took one look at the house and said, well, okay, can I have a look at the books? And my client said that I don't have any of the books. I don't know what's going on. Would you like to speak to my accountant? He said, no, I don't need to speak to an accountant. You're here, I'm here, let's do the job. So he went through everything. He saw whatever he needed to see, closed the file, and assessed him, assessed his company, assessed him personally, assessed his wife, who was a shareholder in the company. They were all assessed based on a rule which says that if you cannot find any evidence in the books of the corporation, they will take one look at your business, they will take one look at the lifestyle you live, and make an arbitrary assessment, just based on the lifestyle you live. Now, just so happened that this guy purchased this house 10 years ago when it was $300,000. Now market value has gone up, it's valued at 600, 650 plus. So they took one look at the car he was driving, and the sad story about the car was it wasn't owned. He leased the car. He was making lease payments. But he saw that there was a 100,000 car in the driveway, and he made an arbitrary assessment. Now, it's still being disputed. We are fighting it. But what's happened is he's made his decision, and a notice of assessment has been filed. So he's got a tax bill, and he's got interest and arrears and penalty, and you name it, everything's on that bill. We tried to contact him. He was inaccessible for 3 weeks. All that time, interest was running for my client. He wouldn't pick up the phone. He said he had a cold for 3 weeks. He was out of town. So it's still through the system. We're still trying to fight it. So I think that brings up the point of having to be careful when you are in a situation. I mean, you do have a duty to speak to CRA. You do have a duty to reveal information that they request. However, there are limits to it. They cannot force you to say something or implicate yourself in any way. If they do enter your premises, if it is not the registered business address of the premises, you can refuse entry. They need a warrant. If you don't want them in your premises, you can ask them for a warrant if necessary. So there are rights out there. It's your duty to be aware of them. And by any means, no means should you feel intimidated. The Income Tax Act, if anything, it's fair. You do have rights. You don't, just because the CRA is at your doorstep, just because you receive a letter doesn't mean the end of the world. They do have certain things, certain conditions and certain rules that they need to follow. They do not have an ultimate right to come in and enforce any which way they see. So that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if anyone's got questions. If you've got questions, I will be hanging around. You're free to ask any questions. If not, please do enjoy the rest of the night and sleep easy tonight. And go back, like I said, go back to your office and do ask questions. It's really important.